welcome to Sure Things. Today I'm going to welcome back one of our previous hosts. As we just changed seasons heading into spring, thought it'd be a good time to check in with Chef Jenn to talk about some spring recipes. Hi, Jenn.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good, good. I'm so happy to have you back as we're looking at this nice bright days and springtime coming. So we thought it'd be a good time to come, and we talked about soups last time when it was a bit chilly and the wonderful broth you made, and this time we're going to look at some spring things.
Definitely. Today we're going to feature a lot of herbs in a couple recipes that we're going to work on, and it's a great time being in the spring to actually grow your herbs, so it's a good time to start learning about how to use herbs in your kitchen.
Excellent. Jenn, could we start by you just, for those who didn't catch our previous show, can we just start by you telling us a bit about yourself and what are you doing right now?
Sure. I've been a caterer for over 25 years in various places throughout New England. I've worked in Providence, Boston, all throughout the shoreline as a caterer. But then in 2013, I think it was, so that was like 8 years ago, actually this month, I became a private chef for a private person here in Essex, Connecticut. And I worked for a few years with them, and then I became a cooking class instructor right here in Essex at the Weekend Kitchen, which is where I'm at filming this beautiful segment we're doing today. And that is also in Essex. And they feature, Weekend Kitchen is also a store right in downtown Essex, but we also teach cooking classes. And throughout COVID, unfortunately, we weren't able to have many classes. We did do a couple outside in the fall once things, we were able to learn more about the distances and the restrictions and what have you. But now we're turning the corner and we're going to be having them again outside. And we're finishing up our ending of our Zoom classes that we've been doing. We have a Zoom class coming up on May 1st. It's a mother sauce class, which is the French sauces. And the reason we chose May 1st, it's the week before Mother's Day, so we figured that'd be fun to do for a Mother's Day gift with a parent and, with a mom and a daughter, or a mom and son, or just a couple people that want to get out together and share a night together learning. So we're going to be doing Zoom classes, but learning the mother sauces. So there's 5 different mother sauces, and we're going to learn and teach that night through Zoom. So then you can look up on Weekend Kitchen for May 1st. And that's a Zoom class, and it's teaching the sauces, the basic 5 French sauces.
Yeah, they're very interesting. Now, so currently you're teaching the courses, and you're also still a private chef?
I am to 2 clients weekly, and that's kind of fluctuated throughout the COVID time period also. So I'm hoping to get back into a little bit more of that, and of course catering. I do dinner parties. I make it so people aren't just being dropped off some food. I'm the caterer or the chef that comes to your house. So it's a private chef catering more than someone showing up with some silver aluminum pans with food. I actually come to your kitchen, use your space, and your guests come and they love to almost join me in the kitchen while they watch me cook, and then I serve. And if it's enough people, I even bring a server with me, and we make it a night in and a night to remember, where it's not, like I said, it's not just catering, it's actually private chef work. Right. So that's coming up too, a lot more with COVID restrictions lifting.
Yeah, it's good that those are winding down, but I do not to cut you off, I did want to add in that taking a few classes myself, that it's not just about the cooking too, that we learn so many other things about meal prep, knife work, and other things about mixing what into what. So, and based on the story I told you about my Easter dinner, we know that I can use any tips I can get, but that's okay. So I'm glad that you're here today. So we're going to talk about herbs, which is a perfect time. I actually planted some seeds myself today, trying to get my garden, thoughts about my garden. So tell us about your experience and what we're going to do today with the herbs, the fresh herbs.
Sure. Well, a lot of people, we all have those jars in our cabinets of, parsley to put some green in something, or some basil, or the oregano, or the Italian blend. If you might be a little fancy, you might have herbes de Provence, which is like a nice French blend. We have the crushed red pepper, the garlic powder, the different types of herbs and spices and other seasonings that we have in our little shakers. But what I'm talking about today is actual herbs. And the difference between an herb and a spice is an herb is a green. It's I bought all these greens today. And I'm going to discuss them, but the difference between herbs and spices is herbs is the stem or the leaf, and a spice is usually the seed or the pod or the root, or the bark of something. So that's the difference between herbs and spices. So these are all herbs, and that's what we're going to talk today. And I got these at Big Y. I know I shouldn't be throwing in those names here, but these are all at Big Y. You can buy these in little containers. They were $2.29. So they're cheaper than your dried herb. So I'm going to be planting these when it's warm enough in May. I'm going to keep them alive, probably on this tray right in the window, and just water them as needed. But this is an interesting one. It's called red sorrel, and it's very spicy, and it has a nice zesty taste, almost like a lemon. And you can put it in salads. You can put it in dressings, marinades. It's great with fish. It's a very underused or underutilized herb, but when I found this today, I was very excited. This is a red veined leaf sorrel. That's one. And then, of course, we have basil, which everybody loves. It makes a good caprese or a pesto. You can add this to any Italian dish. Many of all European dishes, a lot of them have, or Mediterranean, I should say, have basil in them. And it's very easy to grow. They like full sun. Here's thyme. Thyme is a everything herb. You can put this in a dip. You can put this in a marinade, roast your meats with this. Thyme is very zesty, like a lemon also. And it creeps on the ground, so it stays kind of low. And it's a great one to add to your herb garden. Flat leaf parsley. You've heard of curly leaf and flat leaf. Flat leaf to me is just a little bit a better taste to it. And some people think that parsley has no real reason, but it does add a brightness and a freshness to anything that you add it to. Then we have here our lemon balm, which to me smells like pledge. Remember on a Saturday morning when your mom would spray pledge in the house? That's what it smells like. But I make a tea with lemon balm and regular tea bags, and it brings that strong lemon flavor to your tea. So that's always good to have. Or you can actually put it into your bath, and it makes you smell all lemony in the summer. Then, of course, we have a lot of people's favorite. They love making roasted potatoes or lamb or beef or chicken. It's another well-used herb here, which is rosemary. This will become probably this tall and this wide by the time the midsummer will come. And this can be used, like I said, in a lot of different ways with meats, veggies, especially potatoes and garlic. It makes a good roasted potato. And then last but not least is our Thanksgiving herb. It's sage. So if you smell sage, it reminds you of that little yellow box of Bell's poultry seasoning. And this is excellent in vegetables. If you mix sage with browned butter, when I say browned butter, you take your stick of butter, let it melt low, and then let it get a little caramelized and brown. So the milk solids start to brown. And you add your sage leaves to that, and you drizzle that over any green vegetable or any carrots or anything in the vegetable world, pretty much. And that makes a great seasoning with sage and brown butter. And it's also good with butternut squash. But all these herbs, don't be afraid of. A lot of people, they think if I have this herb in my fridge, I don't know what to do with it. I only needed 4 leaves for that recipe. Throw them in your freezer. And it might not be fresh, but it will still bring a pleasant flavor that's closer to fresh than a dried herb. If you don't have fresh herbs, you can use dried, of course. If you notice, I don't have oregano here. Oregano is very pungent, and it's very astringent, and it's almost like a invasive kind of flavoring when it comes to using fresh oregano. Dried oregano is used in every avenue in the kitchen, but it's rarely used fresh. So it's usually grown fresh just so you can dry it. Because if you use it fresh, it does bring a bite. It's a little not that pleasant. But as far as dried, it's an amazing herb. So it's just kind of funny that that's one of the herbs that you rarely will see used fresh. So there's our wonderful herbs.
I was just going to ask you something about the herbs, if I could just ask a few. I just wondered, I was going to ask you about drying herbs. First of all, do you dry herbs in your fresh herbs?
I do. I have a dehydrator built into my actual oven in my stove. Yeah. So I can lay them on racks or in just sheet pans and put them in my actual oven. A lot of ovens nowadays are coming with proofing for breads and dehydrate mode for dehydrating things. Yeah. So that's the way I do it. But if you wanted to, you can just string it up and put it on your, a rafter, and just keep an eye on it. Make sure it's not getting too dusty. But usually within a week it'll dry, and then you take it down and you crumble it and put it in a Ziploc bag or in a jar, and you'll have it just like you bought it, at the store.
So what is the difference between drying them and just putting them in the freezer, as you mentioned earlier?
Well, when you put like, say if you go to the grocery store, like, you know, any of our local grocery stores, and you buy these little packages, you can see these little packages. And the reason I bought this one to show you, it's the poultry blend. This one has rosemary, thyme, and sage, which is the smell of Thanksgiving. The bouquet itself smells like Thanksgiving. If you buy the poultry blend, you won't have to buy 3 packages. You won't have to buy a package of thyme. You won't have to buy a package of rosemary or the sage. So you'll already have your combination here. But say if you only use a half of this, throw it in your freezer, and it may brown a little, but it usually stays pretty green. Once it reaches the air again after it's been frozen, it will oxidize and will turn brown. But if you use it in a sauce or a stew or a roasting, it doesn't matter because it's going to turn brown anyways. Like I said, it won't be fresh, but it will still be using a fresh herb. That makes
Better
sense.
than, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I just bought this just to show you that if you bought this poultry blend, you'll have 3 herbs without having to buy 3 packages.
Right.
So I couldn't buy chives today in a container. So I bought one of these little packages, and they just come already chopped, nice little chives.
Yeah.
And chives come back every year in New England, so you can plant them, and they'll come back the following year. And usually a spot that you started this big will be this big by the following year. Or it might grow another little one next to it. So it's kind of interesting, you know, it's a cool herb to have. And that's great on everything. You can put, it's an onion, it's an allium family. So this will go in anything that you would put onion in to give a nice little fresh color. It's great for topping things, adding to tops of soups like a garnish. So that's why I bought these chives, because I could not find the plant chive today. But I brought, I have a couple recipes to share with everyone today.
Oh, great. Great.
One of them is Chef Jenn's buttermilk ranch dressing, and there's all different ways of making ranch dressing. Your basic ranch dressing has a bunch of herbs in it. It usually has a base of like a sour cream and milk. But this one here, I like to use buttermilk. Buttermilk, $1.69 for this little thing here. It's great to use for pancakes. It's great to use for French toast. It's great to use for dressings. You can do a lot with buttermilk. You can marinate some chicken in this because the buttermilk actually has enzymes in it that will help the chicken bring out a lot of flavor in the chicken and moisten the chicken. So today's recipe, I don't know if you have it with you, but I'm just going to review it.
We do.
Is
this okay to take time? We have a short break coming up. So I'm thinking before we get into this, so I don't cut off in the middle, we're just going to take a short break and we'll be right back to do the dressing and your next recipe. Okay.
I'll see you in a moment.
Okay, be right back.
Thank you.
I'm here to talk about how we're going to defeat COVID-19. Well, we got to bring our A game. What's our A game? Here's the strategy. Get tested. Stay social distancing. Wear masks. Community Health Center has testing sites all over Connecticut. Open 7 days a week, and they're free for anybody. Babies, students, senior citizens, anybody. So go in and get tested. That's how we can all stay undefeated.
Find a location near you at chc1.com.
Yo, Scott.
Hey.
I'm heading out, man. You want to ride?
No, I got my car, but I actually really need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you know what? I was just in there. The line is like 10 people long.
You know, I think I'll just...
Dude, are you okay?
You wouldn't believe what I was just thinking. I am definitely buzzed.
Yeah.
I think I will take this, and I will take that ride home.
Smart man.
Did you see how that dog was looking at me?
Hi, I'm Mary Polcheninoff, and welcome back to Sure Things. Today we're meeting with Chef Jenn. Hi, Jenn. Welcome back.
Hi there.
Hi. So we're doing your herb dressing, and I know
Yes.
you were just explaining to us about the use of buttermilk.
Yes. Buttermilk is something to keep in your fridge. It's very inexpensive. It's a product of our milk industry. It's very underused in most kitchens, and it's great in things like I said, this ranch dressing that we're going to make today with all these wonderful herbs. And I'm going to sidetrack for a moment. One of the herbs I couldn't find in a plant form, like to plant, was our dill. Look at the size of this dill I bought at the market today.
Yeah.
It is huge. But dill is something, of course, can be used in dips and in vegetables. It's very good to fish or any type of seafood. You can make all different types of, like you can make an herb bread. You can make breads with dill in it. You can make a butter. That's another thing with all these herbs. If you have leftover herbs that you might have not used all in the recipe, chop them up really fine and mix them with a softened stick of butter and roll it back up in some wax paper or parchment paper. Put it in your freezer. You can use it as a compound butter, which would be good to melt on top of steak or use to make an omelet. There's ways to use your herbs, because I know a lot of people say, oh, I end up throwing half the herbs I bought because I only needed 2 sprigs of thyme for a recipe. Don't just use it up. Make a reason to use it. And so a compound butter is a great way to do that. Yeah. Or even a compound cheese. You could take cream cheese, a little bit of softened butter and cream cheese, mix it together with a bunch of herbs, and that makes a great spread for bagels or crackers and cheese. Idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's ways to use herbs. Don't be afraid to use them. Buy them. They're inexpensive and they're fresh. They're so green. You saw how vibrant all those plants were. Yeah. And
good. There's
a good reason to use them. But today we're going to make my buttermilk ranch dressing, and Mary's going to share this on, I believe, your Facebook page.
It should be, it should be right on when our show is on the schedule there. It should be, the recipe should be right there. This one and the scones. We have about 10 minutes, so I'm hoping we get both in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're just going to make the recipe for the buttermilk dressing today. So it's going to be a half a cup of buttermilk, which is nice and creamy, has a real tang to it, and that's why it's always good in the ranch dressings. And then a half a cup of the sour cream, which this was a half a cup. So I visualize things because I've cooked enough to know what things look like, and that's about a half a cup. And then a couple tablespoons of mayo. And the reason that we add mayo to something like this is to bring that little silkiness from the oil and the egg that is what makes up mayo. So it's 2 tablespoons, and I measured this out earlier. And then 1 medium clove of garlic, which I minced already. And whenever something is going to be raw, make sure the mince is really fine, because you don't want a huge chunk of garlic when you're eating dressing on a salad. Well, some people do, but make it a pleasant size so you're not like, ooh, this is a lot of garlic. And then we have our chives that I chopped already. And now chives, like I said, bring such a freshness and a nice oniony flavor. And then we have the dill and the parsley. So I have the dill and the parsley right here, and I'm just going to take my knife. And I'm going to do a nice fine mince. I'm going to do it together. And always slam with the heel of your knife, as you can see. I don't know if you can see the board. Are you able to see the board a little bit?
Yep. Yes.
So I'm going to just hit with the heel of the knife, which is the last 3 inches or 2 inches of your knife. And that slams it down, so you're going to get a nice fine mince. And I'm just going to keep repeating that over and over. And I got parsley and dill. I did the chive ahead of time, but I'm doing the parsley and dill now.
Is that how you mince your garlic too? Is that how you mince your garlic?
Yes, I mince the garlic like that too. I just make it into I smash the garlic first with a knife, and then I do it nice and fine with the heel of the knife. Yeah. And as you can tell, I have a nice fine mince. One thing when I was catering years ago, and I'm just going to show off for a moment here. I used to take 2 knives like this and put my finger in between the 2. And when you had a lot to do, you would take 2 knives and have the double the blade hitting. Because if you had to go to an event that there was 150 people and you're making dip or salad dressing, you need to do the entire bunch of dill, the entire bunch of celery. I mean, I'm looking over at celery. The rosemary or the basil or whatever. So you learn to do double knife mincing, and that's what I just did. So I'm going to put this in here into our buttermilk, mayo, and sour cream, and that was the Italian parsley and the dill, and then a little bit of acid from some apple cider vinegar, and it's just 2 tablespoons. That's just to bring a little acid. There we go. 1.
Jen, can you use low-fat buttermilk, sour cream, and mayo in this?
Buttermilk is actually low fat already.
Oh, it is.
Okay. Even though it has the word butter in it, it's actually it's less than 1%. Buttermilk has almost no fat in it.
Oh, okay. Could you use low fat for the sour cream?
And use the low fat things, yes. Yeah. Yep, you definitely can. And then it's the juice of half a lemon. So I have my juicer right here. So I'm going to do it right into the bowl. And that's going to bring a nice acidic flavor also to match the apple cider vinegar. And then you're going to bring some sweetness, which I have a local honey.
Wow.
It's going to be a tablespoon. There we go. And this is a very dark amber honey, as you can see, almost black. I just bought it recently because I had a taste of it at a someone's home, and I was like, where did you get that? It's a local apiary. So that's in there. And then we have a little bit of kosher salt or sea salt. So I have some sea salt here. It's 1 teaspoon. You can add more if you needed to. And then some crushed black pepper or fresh cracked pepper. It's about a half a teaspoon, which would be probably about 8 or 9 spins around. Now I'm gonna take my whisk and just whisk this. So now the herbs we used today was chives, dill, and parsley. But you could add other ones too. You could add some basil to this. You could add a tiny bit of thyme to this. Sometimes eating some fresh herbs raw isn't as pleasant as if they're cooked. So like the thyme isn't that great when it's raw because it's very astringent, because a lot of herbs, they have compounds in it that really liven up your taste buds. So that's why cooking with herbs makes it so you can actually use less salt. So by having the herbs in here and the lemon juice and the apple cider vinegar, those all bring flavor without having to bring too much salt. So here's the dressing.
That looks so good.
Usually I'll just taste it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's exactly how I make it every time. It's sweet. It's got a tang. And then the longer you let it sit, the flavors of the herbs will come out. You could use this as a dip. You can use this as, every kid I've ever served this to loved it. Excuse me. You can put this as a pasta salad dressing, or use it on your regular basic green dressing. So that's a beautiful salad dressing. It's nice and runny. And if you wanted to make it thicker, you could actually use less buttermilk and have it be more of a dip consistency. And then the next thing we're going to make, or not make, but I'm going to show you because I already made some in the magic of TV.
Yeah.
We have some scones that I made. These are a fantastic recipe. They're lemon and chive. And most people think of scones, they think of them being sweet, like a raspberry white chocolate or a blueberry scone. These are more of a savory scone. And they're very good for like a brunch. If you can have eggs with these, you can even make an eggs Benedict on these. And these have chive, lemons, the zest of lemons, and you could use buttermilk or regular milk in these. And it has a whole stick of butter, and it makes about 6 to 12. These are smaller than I usually make. Sometimes I make them so there's only 6, so they would be that big. That would be if you're making it for like a eggs Benedict or something. But you serve these to anybody, and they're going to be like, wow, these are amazing. You can add any herbs to these. But I like the chive and lemon combo. But the basic recipe without the lemon or the chives is your basic scone recipe. So you can add the blueberries to these without the other ingredients. So this can be your basic scone recipe. But this is just the way I like to use the chives.
When you said the basic scone recipe, Jen, if I was going to add like blueberries or strawberries or something, would I then have to add sugar to the recipe or no?
Yes, you would add a little bit of sugar, but you wouldn't miss it if you didn't have it, because a lot of scones don't have a lot of sugar. Maybe like a tablespoon of sugar you would add, but the flavor of these are just because of the butter and a little bit of salt is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal scone recipe. And one of the things I did right is you can make these into mini scones. I used to make these about the size of a quarter when I do catering, and I make them the night before, and I cut them in half, and I put a little dollop of either tuna salad or chicken salad on there with a pick, and it makes a nice pasta hors d'oeuvre. It's like a 2-bite little sandwich. They're very flaky. I'm going to show you how flaky these are. They're very, they're not chewy. They're just an amazing flavor. So I'd love to hear if any of your viewers try these, because you're really going to love these.
They sound amazing, and I love that idea of having the small ones where you can cut and put something in the inside. Now, you said it could be buttermilk or milk.
Yes, you can use regular milk or buttermilk. It says regular milk, just regular whole milk on the recipe, but you can use buttermilk, you can use oat milk, you can use almond milk. Okay. It's just to be the liquid in the actual scone. It doesn't have to be
I didn't know if you thought the buttermilk gave it a different flavor or was better or had a better preference.
It does give an actual tang to scones. using buttermilk in any application will bring the actual tang
Yeah.
to whatever you're cooking it, with
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm excited, and we're going, and we have, as you had mentioned at the beginning, we have both recipes for the dressing and for the scones, which look amazing.
Yes.
And I did notice there are no calorie nutrition value on there, so we're just going to say it's all good.
Yeah, eat it on Sunday. And there
Right.
won't be no
Right.
calories on Sunday. That's what I always think. That's my cheat day usually, to have something, pretty rich. But you'll notice in the scone recipe, one of the things that I like to show people is that I grate the butter.
I saw that, yeah.
Grater. So if you freeze a stick of butter and you grate the butter, it actually makes a nice finer a finer particle
Yeah.
of butter. So it's easier to disperse through the actual dough.
Yeah.
So it makes a much flakier and
Oh, that's great.
butterier scone.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, Jen, I want to thank you for all your hints, and if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, find out more information about these recipes or others, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, you can reach me by email, which is probably the number one way I'd like to be reached.
Okay.
It's at Chef Jenn with 2 N's, so CHEFJENN, the number 14 at yahoo.com.
Great. And I thank you again, and want to let our folks know too, if they have any feedback or any other questions, you can email me at surethingsct@gmail. So I'd appreciate any feedback or any feedback too. I'll pass on to Chef Jenn. But I want to thank you for tuning in today, and until next time, we'll see you on Sure Things.
Happy New Year.